Hi guys, my name is Somya Vaiche. I think you would have seen my first video on custom settings. Today I'm going to take the topic on workflow rules. So, workflow rules. What is workflow rules? Like they have it's an extra feature or a feature being given by a Salesforce for creating or automating some process, some business process. So it's like one of the process automation tool exists in the Salesforce by. So what is meant by automation? Say suppose you want to send a mail to a contact person on his birthday to wish him, or you want to escalate the case based on the priority if it has been crossed with some time limits, or you want to um, expire a contract or an agreement when it's crossed the expiry date or expiration date, right? So such things you cannot do it manually for every record. So such things you can easily automate using workflow rules. So I think you came to know like when we have to use the workflow rules, right? When you want to automate the process, then you'll be using the workflows. Okay. So what are its types? Let's say there are four types of workflow rules that you can define. One is field update. Okay. Another is email alert. Next is outbound message and create task. So these are the four workflow actions or workflow types that you can have. You can automate things, right? So I'll explain with one. Okay. So we'll go for click on setup and then type workflow on quick find search. You'll be able to see the workflow and approvals. Under that you click on workflow rules. So these are the existing workflow rules. I'm just creating a new one again, a new one. With that I'll explain the things. So you have to firstly select on which object you are going to do a workflow rule. So basically the selection makes that on the next process that object fields can be used, so that based on the criteria you can perform the action. I'm going to take position object for my workflow rule. Um, Before starting with that, what I want to do is, so there is a position object in my system, and if you see there is a field called close date. So when the date is closed, I have to change my status from closed approved. Open approved it will be there. On my closed date it should change that to closed field. A simple one I'm doing for now. Okay. So the rule name I'll be saying as close the position once expired. Okay. Make sure that the rule names and the action names should be unique. Okay, it should not match. And one more point to say is like if you have did something wrong while you're creating a rule, while you are creating an action and you delete it to start it from scratch. So if you delete the action or the rule in the system today also, for a 1 week you cannot able to use create the rule or action with the same name, because it will be deleted on front end, whereas the physically the back end it will not be deleted. So it needs 1 week to completely remove from the back end. So next comes with the evaluation criteria. This is the main, these two are the main important things when you are creating a workflow, because this is an entry point where you make a record get satisfied with this condition so that it will go through the action. Okay, so there are three in the evaluation criteria: created and every time it's edited, created and anytime it's edited to subsequently meet criteria. So if you want to run this action on a record only at one time when it has been created up, so we have to choose this option. So it will make us to run this workflow for a record when it is created, that is only once, right? Because creation of the record can only happen at once, right? So it can only run at once for a record. Created and every time is done, like it will be um, as many times as it has been edited up, right? So the moment it has been created, it will run, and every time the who is going to edit on the thing, and if the criteria is met, it is going to happen. Okay, and for this, for the created and every time it's edited, you cannot add time dependent workflow actions. I'll just explain what is time dependent afterwards. Okay, so the third one is created and anytime it's edited to subsequently meet the criteria. So the moment it has been created and the rule criteria has been satisfied, it will run. And anytime it has been edited where previously it is not matching with the criteria and now it is matching with the criteria. So when the change happens from not meeting criteria to meeting criteria, then only it will run. For example, if I define a rule where if the opportunity amount, if it is say suppose in the opportunity percentage, let's consider the percentage, if it is crosses 50%, then my rule has to do some action and change some status on that. Okay, if the opportunity percentage is having 25%, it is not meeting the criteria. If I change it to 75%, it is meeting the criteria of the workflow and it will update the status. So it has been run. Now if I again change it to 85 or say suppose to 50, it will not run because previously it has been met with a criteria, and if you change within from 50 above, whatever the change you do, it will not run that workflow. If suppose the current so as in that flow, the 75% it has been changed and again changed back to 50 or something, and I change it back to 40%. So now the rule is not meeting criteria, it has been changed. If I again change from 40% to some other greater than 50, so again it will run because it is coming from not meeting criteria to meeting criteria situation. Okay, so what is the rule criteria? So you have to provide at least one rule to make the rule get saved up. Okay, it is mandatory. So there are two types. So first one will be with a active criteria, and second one will be with a boolean value as true. So we'll check up with a criteria or met. So if suppose my what my condition, I have to based on the close date, I have to expire that position. What if the close date is not provided? Right, the first criteria, it has to be position close date should not be equal to null, should not be blank, right? And what if the position been already been closed up? I have told the status should also with be should be equals to open approved. I don't want to change based on the close date with any of the values. Where if it is open and approved, and if it is having close date, please close that on particular close date, right? So I have to take these two fields for the criteria. Okay. So if you observe, okay, if you observe this in the drop down, you'll be able to access the position fields and only current user. So who is the user running the thing, or who is responsible for running this rule when it is changed from the when the person changes the record which meets the criteria, this rule will run, right? So that person will be considered as the current user. Okay, so the current user details will be able to see. Okay, say suppose if I select formula evaluates to true, and if you try to insert the field, you observe by default you will be able to insert based on the organization, profile, system, user and user loop. The current user who is going to run, with that you can able to access the organization, profile level, system level, user and user loop. If you come to position, if you see, you can able to access hiring manager, right? What is the hiring manager? He is a user object. From position there is a lookup to the user object called a hiring manager. So the lookup relationships are the master data relationships. Those fields you can access through the boolean way of criteria, right? So you can ask this those fields, whatever the fields you want to. Let's say suppose company, if I insert, if it is meeting, it is equal to some value, then you have to do this like that. Okay, so the difference between the criteria thing and this boolean is you can able to access the lookup relationships, or we call it as a base object. Sorry, it's parent, sorry. So its parent you can able to access, and the objects through lookup, those also can be accessed. Whereas the criteria met, you are able to access only that object fields for criteria thing. Okay, and there are few operators being compared with these two criteria stuff. So equals, not equals, starts with, contains, doesn't contain, less than, less than or equal to, greater than, equal to, includes and excludes. These are the thing, and as the name said, as, uh, as the name says only what it means. Okay, I no need to explain it again. If you come with the formula evaluates, you can see similarities are there where it contains. If you use not on that, then it will be doesn't contain, like that. See, not of contains will be does not contains. Okay, and similarly with the begins, starts with, not begins, does not starts with, then with includes, right, includes, excludes is also there, exclude, and with not you have to use it as excludes. These are the things functionally be used. And one more thing is like, if you understood this advanced method of criteria, okay, like you insert the field, you insert the operators, and or like add, subtract, equal, not equal, all these things, and you use it, and with this functionalities also, and you can able to check the syntax whether it is correct or not, and you can further move. So these things is existing in the Salesforce in every in other parts also. In formula fields you'll be able to say the same thing, right? So such things are there. If you understand this part, it will be applicable to every parts where it is existing. Okay, so so far I need to consider criteria or met as this one. Okay, this is what my settings I have to do. Okay, so save and next. So next step is regarding with the actions. Okay, so actions, there are two types of actions that can happen. One is with immediate workflow action or time dependent workflow actions. Immediate means like the moment the record meets this criteria you have to change it, whereas the time dependent workflow is like it will be it will be executed based on the time. Like if you want to execute that after 2 days, so let's suppose the for the contact, if you want to wish that person, You could not wish that when the person is created, when the contact is created, or when it is gets edited. You have to wish him on his birthday, right? So that where a time trigger plays. Okay, so the immediate workflow actions and this one, anything can be with a new task, email alert, field update, and outbound message. This last option is nothing but if any workflow action has been created and been linked to some other rule, you can reuse them over here. Okay, based on your requirements, you can able to reuse the existing actions. Okay, so for me, what I have to do, I have to update the field, right? So I'll be taking as field update. Hold on. So what's our requirement over here, right? I have to change this portion status to closed field on my closed date. So on my closed date is mean that it's a time trigger. Okay, so for the time trigger workflow actions, you'll not be able to add them when you have selected created and every time it's edited as election criteria. Okay, so first I have to add the time trigger, which time it has to run, then I can able to add the action to it. Okay, so I'll go with the time trigger. So time trigger is things is like it will be having a number field. You can take from 0 to 999 days. Okay, so it can be done with the hours or it can be done with the days. So you want to run after 2 hours or you want to done after 2 days, you can able to select. And this is like once the once that particular time has been crossed or before it has been get crossed up, so at which time you want to execute it. So my thing is to execute this on my close date, so I'll take it as 0 days after the. So rule trigger date is the time when the rule has been triggered, like when the record matches with the criteria, that time will be taken as a rule trigger date. Apart from this, you can able to see the date and time fields of that position object or the object that we have selected for workflow rule, right? So I want to select as position state. So when the close date happens, when the position has been closed up, after that, within that particular day or within an hour, you can able to edit it. You can able to change that particular status to closed field. So I have set in my time. Okay, so I need to add the action now. So add workflow action. Same list of selections can be seen in the immediate workflow also. Same thing. So new field update. I have to define the name of this. What I have to do? Expire the position to closed field. This is what I have to do. Okay, you can define the description what you want to do, and here the comes with a selection of field that you want to update, right? So here, and here one more thing, see if you can, it's yeah, one more thing to say is like um, you can able to select the field list of fields from this position. Okay, so I'll select status. Okay, field data type, it automatically provides a pick list, and so you can able to select what the pick list value should be provided. I'll provide some specific is closed field. Okay, and this you have to check and save. So it has been done. The moment I click on done, the workflow things has been cleared. Okay, nothing to do with this, but I'll explain other three actions also. It is easy to go through once. Okay, before going through, I'll just click on this. Okay, So here the position is having a lookup relationship with hiring manager. Other than that, there is no lookup relationship. We'll see. No, only one lookup relationship, that is with the user. Nothing other than user. So there is no master data relationship too. Okay. This record is not at all a child for any of the any of the master object through standard master data relationship. So at start, when we are defining the criteria, right, when we are defining the criteria at that time, so with selecting as a boolean type of criteria, we'll be able to access the lookup relationships. Even master objects details also we can able to access. If the master objects are there for a object that we are going to define the rule, then we can able to select that object executing while we defining the actions also. To exactly say what it means, right? Say, let's say suppose you take it as a base object and action object. Okay, so base object is nothing but the object with which you are going to create a workflow. So here the position is the base object, and the action object can be a base object or any other object also. That any other object is nothing but the base object a should be a child to that object through master data relationship. Okay, so those master objects can be part of this action, not any lookup thing. Got it? Okay, so another field I want to explain is re-evaluate the workflow rule change after feature. So if you go through the order of execution, if you start working on the application, if the page loads, or if you're working on creating a record, so order of the execution will happen. And in that execution, so before running with the workflow rules, it will first run the triggers. Before event triggers will be run, after that workflow rule will run. Okay, after that, after trigger events will run. If something has been changed in that after trigger event, and that if it is meeting criteria with the workflow rule thing, then it will re-evaluate the workload. That means it will run twice. Okay, and then it will execute the particular actions based on the workflow things what we have defined. So if you think, like, you may think that after trigger may satisfy the workflow too and it will run again, what it become a recursive, right? So it will never become recursive. There is only possible two times it can happen. One is the normal thing, another is like with a recursive part, it can only run at once again, not anymore. So there is no point of recursive thing in the workflow. And if you uncheck this one, it will not consider to run this workflow based on the changes being happened with the after trigger events. That's it. Okay, so we'll go with uh, another action. So the field update action is the most uh, frequently used type of actions. Okay, or and another one is the email alert. These two are the mainly most time of the time it will be used mostly. Okay, sorry, I'll go with email alert now. So you have to define the name of it, description, what you are going to do in this email alert. Okay, and the unique name, the object is provided with a position, and email template. You have to select the email template that you have created. Okay, mostly it will be the text type. Okay, you have to select one email template. Email template is nothing but a format, or what do you call would have heard that automated mail, right? So that format will be same and it can be sent to 100 people at a time. That format, you have to define the email template and you'll be selecting over here. Okay, and you have to select the what are the recipients whom this alert has to be sent. Okay, if suppose the creator, if I select, then the record creator, where we have to choose when you're opting this one for sending birthday wishes to the contact person on his birthday. Okay, other than that, if you want to notify on some other thing, let's say suppose if the opportunity stage has been crossed on this one, or if the opportunity one uh, if the opportunity status is equal to closed one, if you want to notify that thing to your manager or to the opportunity person, so that selection you can do over here. It can be owner, it can be account owner, it can be case team, it can be public groups, it can be related contact, roles and subordinates, and the users. You can select who or want to do this, who want to notify it with this thing. And you can provide the additional emails to it. And from email addresses also, you if you want to show your name as a sender name to them, you have to select current user email address. If you want to show a default work user email address, then you have to select this one. I'll explain how to set up with the workflow user email address afterwards. Okay, so there are considerations with the email being sent every day. So there will be email alerts 1000 per Salesforce license, except for developer and trilogues. Developer editions and trilogues will have lesser number compared to other routes. To other routes, maximum it will be 1000 email alerts per Salesforce license. And per day, you cannot send more than 15 email alerts. So if I added some 5 addresses to here, or some overall, let's say suppose 7 addresses from here or through here, each email address will be counted as each email alert. Okay, so once the limit has been crossed, it will be saved in the queue. It starts sending up after 2 hours. If the limit is crossed, and it will retry for 1 or 2 times. If this doesn't set, it will be vanished. It will not send again. So you have to um, consider these points, these limitations. Then only you have to define the email alert. Okay. I think for wishing a contact person doesn't matter with these considerations, because a single mail will be sent on his birthday. So maximum how many persons birthday can match on same day, right? So that's still not, I think their dates will not match more. Okay, and even though you can able to match it for 15 members, more than 15 members it cannot match, I hope. So there is no problem of wishing him on the particular birth date for the contact. Okay, so with the email thing we have done with, I'll go with the other type. So other type will be new task. A task has to be created. If the case being escalated, you have to create a task to the case owner to look into that case, right? So you have to create the task. What should be subject of the task, right? Escalate the case, or any other name you want to do. Okay, and to whom you want to assign. Okay, there you have to select the user you want to assign, or the owner. Owner, it will be a position owner. Okay, or if you're dealing with the case, then it's the case owner. Or you want to use the role. What are the every rules type will be listed, you can able to select. So possibility of role, user, and owner. Okay, uh, let's not take that. So what could be the status of a task that we have created? It should be a not started or in progress. Mostly we'll go with a not started. And the priority you can make it as high, normal, or low, whatever. And when you have to provide this due date, like what is the due date or what is the date before that this task has to be performed. So you can take the same list of dates that we have seen while we are setting up the time trigger. Along with we can able to use the current user settings also. Okay, what I'll take is like rule trigger date plus 2 days. So within 2 days, the moment the rule has been triggered, he has to look into that case. Okay, and don't confuse with this. Okay, the moment the task has been created or the rule has been executed, that is also considered while you are doing the time trigger. Apart from that, beyond that, this is also considered like it's a plus. Okay, there's no subtraction on the same date or something. So we'll go with the other. I just skipped. Oh, oh. Sorry, yes, I think I went with some other thing. Yeah, shall I go for back? Yeah. So I'll take it as cancel there. This one. Yeah. So I came back to here. So I'll select new outbound message. This one will be like very rarely used workflow. What it actually does is like outbound is means like to external system. This will be sent through a SOAP standard API. Salesforce standard SOAP API form will be used to send this message to them. And you have to provide the name, a unique name for it, description, endpointer to the which URL you have to send this SOAP API message, configure SOAP API message. Okay, through which user you want to send, you can select. Through admin, you can able to select. And what are the fields you have to show them for sending them, like if you want to show them as a created date, closed date, you can able to add it, selected fields, and you have to save it. So this is very rarely been used in the automating the process. Okay, so I'll go back. Yeah, it came back. So now you're able to see what are the three types, what are the four types we went with. Okay. Mm, so I'm now going to um, define this one, and once it has been defined, you have to activate it. Okay, once it has been activated only, the records after this rule being activated, those records will be considered based on this criteria and will perform. For the old records which are already being provided with a close date and which already meeting this one, it will not run. For the records which are created after activating the rule, that will apply. For the old records, you have to take care on some other means. Okay, and if you want to edit some actions, okay, if you want to edit some actions, you have to deactivate it and edit it and then reactivate it. You cannot edit the active workflow rule actions. Okay, I'll activate it. Let us test how it will run. Okay. Mm, I'll take this is one after one open upload, right? It is there as open upload and the close date is not there. So this is not making the letter of the workflow. So nothing will be done. So what I'm going to do is I'll change the close date to today. Okay, and I'll save it. Okay, don't get confused. It is an open upload. It will take some time. I'll tell why. Okay, so every workflow rules that we have, actions that we have defined. So once the criteria is met, so that will be filled into the queue. There's some time criteria, it will be filled into queue, and that will start executing as a batches. It will not run at the moment that you trigger up. Okay, it will not run. That batch will happen um, every 15 minutes. Okay, if there is any records which are in the queue to be executed as a batch, then every 15 minutes it will run. Okay, so if you think that at 6:42 if I did it, it will run at exactly 6:45. If you do at 6:46, then it will run at 7 o'clock. Okay, so we'll test after 6:45. Before that, I can able to check one more thing, as it is a time trigger, right? For the immediate actions, it will happen. We have defined time trigger. Even though with the time trigger also, time dependent workflow action also, the close date we provided today. So 0 days, it means today it's going to happen. How we can check with the time dependent workflow actions? If we have defined time dependent workflow actions like to run after 6 months or after 1 year, and you have to wait till that to check whether it has been the workflow what I have created is correct or not, right? So once it is not been run up, we'll be in confusion that whether it is correct or not. So what we can do, you can just type as workflow. Okay, under monitor thing, you click on time based workflow. Okay, and here you can select the workflow rule name or an object on which you have defined the workflow, and take a position, or you may start take it as starts with. Okay, and for search for it, you can able to see that this record has been time triggered, has been triggered up, and that is in the queue, it will be executed soon. Okay, and this comes one question: what if I provided the close date to pre old past dates, let's suppose yesterday's date or day before yesterday dates, featured it anything anyway, like for today also it's going to work, and we can able to observe it. What for the past dates, right? Let's wait for 2 minutes. Okay, so what if with the uh, expired dates, right? What we told, if the records has been triggered for the closed, if it is past date, what will happen? So in that time, what would happen is, I'll tell another example. If the opportunity going to close on particular date, the workflow is to send an email 7 days before to that close date. That is what the workflow is done. Let's say suppose if the workflow has been defined and the close date is like 30th of February, then 23rd of the February, the time trigger will be scheduled the moment you change the record, right? The moment you change the record to provide the close date, a time trigger will be present in the queue with the date as 23. Okay, if suppose in this duration, okay, in this duration, if you change the close date to some other date, what we can have, yeah, to some other date is like from 30th I'll be changing it to 22 20. Okay, and now date is 20 or 22, whatever. So the date which you are going to set for the opportunity close date is past before, and our trigger is our workflow is that before closing 7 days of closing date, we have to send a mail. So it's again another um, past date, that is 13th, right? So that time triggers will be in the queue for the present day, that is 22 or 20, the present date. It will be there and it will be executed immediately for those past date things. Okay. uh, and one more thing with the time based, see, it has been changed on 646, right? And it will be stated as closed field. So it has been executed even though it provided closed end, it has been triggered. So what if, so with this example, one more point we can able to think, it is like, once the workflow rule criteria is met, if there is a time trigger actions, it will be triggered and will be present in the queue to be executed on that particular date. Till that a date, if anything being changed up, if the date is changed, the same time trigger being in the queue will be changed. Okay. If you make it a past date, it will execute on the same day. Okay. If you change the close date to some other date in the future also, you can able to, it will reschedule with the same new date. What if it is not meeting the criteria? So the moment the records, if it's went to not meeting criteria, the time based triggers what we are presenting in the queue, it will be deleted, it will not be executed. So we have to take a responsible that if the record is being changed and it is waiting for some time trigger workflow to get acted up, you should make sure that you will not be changing or disturbing so that the record will come out of the meeting criteria. If it is happens, then the time based workflow actions will not be executed. Okay. So this has been done up, and one more thing. So if you want to edit the workflow, I have told you have to deactivate the workflow and then you edit it. For the time based workflow actions, you have to first understand, you have to first delete this time trigger, um, what do you call, the actions being queued up. After deleting this one only, you can able to edit the workflow. Okay, if you want to change, do some change, make sure that you empty up this queue and then you deactivate the workflow and then edit it. With having this one and you trying to edit it, it may edit, but then these queues will be executed. So if you feel this queues time actions are not to be happen, then you have to empty this queue. To delete to delete the workflow, you should definitely need to delete empty this queue. Okay. So another one thing was default workflow user, right? So where you have to do is like, go to workflows in process automation settings. If you click on here, you can able to set default workflow user. Default workflow user can be like, you uh, for example, in this record, I have edited to closed it, but the closed field status has been changed on 646 with my name or with my user, or because my name is was the workflow user was there. If you change to some default, you can able to easily identify that this has been, something has been changed from a default user, like with some trigger with some workflow, the record has been changed. That can be easily identified if you provide some default workflow user. Other thing, like if the email alerts, what we have defined, if they are failed because of some limitations, or if they have executed per day allowance of the email alerts, so those mails can be sent to the default workflow user. And if any issues happens to workflow, if it is not executing, or if it is start executing but some other interrupt happen, so those all details will be sent to the default workflow user. So it's best to provide some system admin